This didn't reach everyone. It reached you. For centuries, the thing people called God was treated like a distant object, an answer to be found somewhere out there. But the truth I want to name now is different. It was never merely out there. It was hiding, quietly and patiently, inside the very fabric of your living body, waiting for a nervous system that could come to rest long enough to recognize it. This truth is intimate. It is not a doctrine to be memorized. It is a felt recognition to be received, and not everyone will be ready to receive it. Only those whose inner climate has learned to soften and hold presence will hear it as real. Imagine a small, radical sentence you can test immediately. What if God is not a remote judge but the ground of relationship that becomes visible through embodied presence? Read that as a hypothesis you can try on your skin. Not as a theological claim to be argued, but as a possible map to an experience. If you are curious, place your hand on your heart now, and stay with me for a minute. Many modern seekers are told to think positive and write gratitude lists. Those are helpful, but something is missing for most people. You can believe in possibility with your mind and still feel blocked. Why? Because the mind's yes has to travel down through layers that remember fear, fascia that tightens around old stories, breath that stays high and short, a nervous system primed to survive. The body keeps a ledger of what was needed to stay alive. Until that ledger is quieted, the mind's prayers often fall like paper into stormy water. To make sense of this, it helps to borrow a metaphor from physics, not to prove a spiritual claim, but to provide a bridge. In certain experiments, observers change the patterns that appear. Some physicists and philosophers have taken this to suggest that attention participates in the shaping of phenomena. Used carefully, that is a beautiful image. Attention as a kind of creative presence. For mystics across ages, attention, directed, steady, embodied, has always been the tool that reveals what was under the surface. Consider the scientist and the mystic speaking in parallel. Both notice that how you look at something changes what you find. That does not mean the universe is merely a thought. It means that relationship matters. The posture of the knower shifts what unfolds. Now bring that image inside you. Your attention is not disembodied light. It travels through muscle and marrow through the tissue that remembers. Fascia, the web that holds you together, carries tension like a story that never got told. Your breath maintains a narrative of safety or threat. Cells keep histories in chemistry and rhythm. When your thinking says, "I'm ready for abundance," but your breath whispers danger, the field that responds will follow the louder signal, the one that has more mass, more memory, your body. Reality, at least the reality you live in day to day, is co-authored by attention and tissue together. This is where the deeper claim sits. Appreciation lived as a whole body state is not merely a pleasant habit. It is a physiological technology. I'm not promising a magic formula. I am offering a practical reframing. Appreciation healed into the chest, breathed all the way through the diaphragm, signaled to the parasympathetic nervous system, becomes a coherent frequency. When your internal landscape vibrates with steadiness and embodied gratitude, your nervous system calms. And a calmer nervous system allows different patterns to appear in your life. Subtle shifts in perception, openings you had not noticed, connections that feel meaningful. Think of it like tuning a fork. If your vibratory field is chaotic, a single tone of gratitude will not register. But if you slow down, place your hand on your sternum, soften your jaw, breathe into the places that held tightness, you begin to generate a consistent vibration. That vibration resonates outward, not as a guarantee that the world must bend to your will, but as a signal that invites different responses. Your own choices become clearer. Other people's nervous systems can relax around you. Opportunities appear that match the new tone. Here is a short practice to try with me now. A simple, verifiable experiment you can do in under 2 minutes. This is not a magic incantation. It is a somatic protocol aimed at rebalancing your interior climate. Place one hand over the center of your chest. Feel the weight of your palm, the small rise and fall beneath it. Allow your shoulders to soften. Take 3 slow breaths, long enough to feel the belly release with each exhale. On the first breath, notice only sensation, temperature of the skin, the tiny pressure under your hand. On the second breath, breathe into the tight places. Name them softly to yourself. Neck, ribs, a memory that tightens your jaw. On the third breath, let a whisper form on the out-breath. I see you. Repeat it if it helps. I see you. You don't have to carry this alone. Do not rush the sensations. You may notice a sigh, a warmth, a small pouring of salt behind the eyes. You may notice nothing dramatic at all, and that is fine. The practice is a doorway. Over time, as the nervous system learns the contour of safety in your presence, the effects deepen. This is appreciation as frequency. It is different from saying the words thank you and immediately going back to the chores. This is appreciation that lives in the belly and in the tissue, a tone that steadies the pulse. It is gratitude married to surrender, an acknowledgement of what is combined with an invitation to something more. When these states are repeated and held, they begin to rewire patterns at the cellular level, not by mystical fiat, but by the normal processes of the nervous system learning a new baseline. Mitochondria respond to stress and rest. The breath shapes blood chemistry. Posture alters hormone cascades. None of this is simplistic or instantaneous. It is cumulative and can be subtle. But it is real in the sense that physiology obeys the conditions it is placed in. You might object that this is speculative. Be careful. The language of quantum physics and nervous systems can be misused. I am not claiming that consciousness single-handedly rewrites objective law. What I am saying is more modest and more useful. The way you orient attention when it reaches deep into the body changes how you show up and how the field of others shows up in return. For those who have practiced across traditions, mystics, Sufis, contemplatives, meditators, this is familiar. They speak not of dominance, but of participation. They speak of remembering an intimacy with the source rather than inventing it. Notice how this shifts the idea of finding God. You are not asked to go on a frantic quest to drag the divine down from a mountaintop. You are invited to unclench beneath your ribs. Presence is the technology of remembering. What had been hidden behind layers of fear and habit becomes visible when you invite the chest to soften and the breath to lengthen. The hidden truth was not so much lost as muted by survival wiring. When the wiring changes, the truth becomes audible again. What does readiness look like? It is not a badge or a moral achievement. Readiness shows up as capacity. Capacity to tolerate the present moment without running. Capacity to let feelings arrive and pass without catastrophic stories. Capacity to allow warmth where there used to be bracing. When you begin to feel your nervous system respond, slower heart, deeper breaths, an unhooking of urgency, you are meeting the threshold. Those are the signs. Small, quiet metrics, fewer impulsive reactions, more spacious choices, a tenderness that wasn't there before. The results you can expect are often understated. People report synchronistic encounters. Yes, a meeting that feels perfectly timed, an email that turns into possibility. But even more often, the changes are internal and practical. A phone call that used to trigger fear now arrives as neutral. Sleep deepens. Creativity returns in soft waves instead of pressure. These are not miracles you can point to like trophies. They are shifts of climate, subtle rearrangements of preference and perception that accumulate. And because humans are social creatures, one person's coherence tends to ripple. Like a tuning fork in a hall, your frequency nudges the air, and the air influences the rest. There is also an ethical dimension to this practice. Embodied appreciation should not become spiritual bypass, a hurried gratitude that avoids real grief or material action. Radical acceptance does not mean complacency. It means you can hold hard realities with a softer chest and respond from clarity rather than constriction. In other words, this is not about mistaking pleasant feelings for spiritual attainment. It is about learning to hold your interior without adding more force. If this message lands as an echo inside you, there is one next simple experiment to try in daily life. For 1 week, 3 times a day, pause for 90 seconds and place your hand on your heart. Breathe as you did a moment ago. Name one small thing about this moment that you can appreciate. Maybe the warmth of the light, the steadiness of your feet, the taste of water. Allow appreciation to be a bodily tone rather than a checklist. Notice what changes over the week. Nerves loosen, choices feel less reactive, opportunities begin to appear with less effort. Keep gentle notes. You are not measuring success. You are tracking how your baseline shifts. Some listeners will find these ideas easy to accept, others will bristle. That is expected. The claim that the divine reveals itself through embodiment will feel deeply right to some and dangerously vague to others. Use discernment. If you come from a tradition that prefers a different language, translate the practice into that idiom. Union with the divine, participation in the sacred life, abiding in Christ, or the simple human experience of presence. The map changes names, but the territory, softened chest, steady breath, clear attention, remains accessible across languages of faith and secular frameworks alike. Let me be clear about the limits here. Nothing I describe is promised to fix every external problem. The practice won't guarantee instant wealth, a sudden cure, or that every relationship will align perfectly. It does, however, change the conditions under which life unfolds for you. It enlarges your capacity to choose, to notice opportunity, to respond with less reactivity. For many, that is the truest kind of miracle, the slow, steady rebuilding of availability to life's gifts. As your nervous system learns to accept presence, you begin to recognize a pattern that mystics named long ago: remembering rather than finding. You do not go out and fetch God like a lost item. You become a clearer mirror for what was always near. The wonder is not in acquiring something new. The wonder is in becoming a less obstructed conductor for what is already present. Before I close, there is one way to know whether this is beginning to work for you. After a practice like the one we did, check in with a small test. Does your body feel slightly more spacious? Is your breath a touch longer? Are you able to think of a feared situation, an old worry, an uncomfortable person, and feel it without your chest immediately contracting? If yes, you are shifting. If not, keep practicing with curiosity, not with judgment. The system learns through repetition and safety, not through willpower alone. So here is the invitation, plain and gentle. If this truth, that the sacred is revealed through embodied presence, feels like something you want to explore, make room for the practices in the way you make room for any important training. Practice hand-on-heart pauses. Practice softening the jaw. Practice noticing the stories your tissue tells. Let appreciation be a tone your body learns to hold, not a forced smile you paste on fear. To close, speak this affirmation quietly into your own chest, or keep it as a seed in your mind. I am learning to be present. I am learning to hold my heart. I am learning to receive what has been waiting patiently for me. Say it once, twice, or hold it as a whisper under your breath. If this message landed with you and you want a simple guided version of the micro-ritual to practice at home, subscribe below or download the one-page ritual linked with this video. One small daily tuning shifts the climate of a life. Remember, the truth was hidden not because it was absent, but because our systems needed to catch up. The ready will receive it. You may be closer to ready than you think.